Hello chaps, and welcome to my final reveal for the Airfix 1/72 scale Vickers Wellington B.III. This is the original old 1959 tooling, not the brand new kit that's been released recently. And if you've seen a few of those being built, you'll know that they're extremely well detailed and they look beautiful when they're built up, if done correctly. So what you're about to see with the old tooling is not going to compare to that new kit, but I have tried to enhance it with some scratch building, adding some parts, etc., and hopefully it's turned out better than what it could have been if it was built straight out of the box. I'll leave you guys to be the judge of that. The kit itself, now with it being an old tool, it's poorly detailed, not a lot of parts, and the parts themselves add flash, and the surface detail is really bad. It's a rough texture. It's not the good polished finish that we see on the modern day kits. And the plastic itself, it's really hard and tough when you're cutting it. It's almost like a glass-filled nylon rather than a styrene. And when you bond it, it has a strange reaction compared to when you bond styrene. So you have got some things to try and overcome to try and make a decent job of it. Now everything on it was raised detail, but I've tried to make the most of that. And what did I scratch build on it? Let's start with the cockpit. I did a rear bulkhead, instrument panel. I chopped up some pieces of decal, 3 pieces of decal to go on that instrument panel. Now you can't see any of that because the clear parts on this kit were really thick and they were bubbles in places and mist there, and I tried to polish them but didn't help. So what you're seeing is the original clear parts and they're not good at all. On the outside of the kit, the fuselage halves are solid. They did have a bit of warp in the middle, the ends touched, but the centre was open like that, so I had to clamp and glue with super glue. I cut an area out where the bomb bay would be, and the pieces I cut out from each half, I split those in 2, so I had 4 long sections of fuselage. And on the Wellington, the bomb bay has 6 bomb bay doors, 4 rows of bomb bay doors. So I chopped each of those 4 sections in 6, so I got 24 parts for the bomb bay door. The bomb bay itself I created from 40 thou styrene sheet and did a floor, dividers, end walls. The Wellington has 3 compartments in the bomb bay, so I created that. And to finish off the bomb bay, I used 3 spare bomb racks from the Halifax kit. That was my first entry into the Bomber Command Buddy build. This is the second entry. So I used those 3 on the centre to raise the bombs up, because the centre is lower because it's curved on the bottom. So I raised the centre bombs up with those bomb racks, and I used 9 of the 10 bombs from the Halifax kit to go on here. That's why you didn't see any bombs included inside the bomb bay on the Halifax build, because what I intend to do is use bombs from this, my next build. The Airfix World War II RF bomber resupply set comes with a lot of bombs. So some of those bombs are going to be put into the Halifax bomb bay, and some will be on a cart beneath the Halifax in a diorama that I plan to build. I don't know where I'm going to include the Wellington into that diorama yet and have a bigger diorama, we'll see. When I finish building off the RF supply set. Anyway, other parts scratch built on this after the bomb bay. It didn't have any wingtip lights, so I cut out the end pieces on the wingtip, got some clear styrene, glued them in, smoothed them down to shape it to the form of the wings, and behind the clear parts before I stuck them in, I painted red on the port side and green on the starboard side. So I've 2 wingtip lights scratch built. It doesn't come with a pitot tube, so I scratch built a pitot tube. The undercarriage just has the oleo struts with 2 prongs that fit into the location area in the wheelbase. So it's not very rigid, so what I did was scratch build some support struts behind the oleo, angling down to the floor of the wheelbase, so 4 of those, 2 on each wheel. And then underneath the fuselage, on the rear end of the fuselage, when you look at photographs of the Wellington, you'll see that there's a UHF antenna rail. You've got 3 struts and a rail. So I scratch built that, stuck that on the underside. Also on the rudder, there's no little parts external parts come with it. So on the rudder I did the limit stops, a couple of prongs that come out, bars that when the rudder rotates, it can only go so far before it's stopped by the vertical stabilizer. So I put those on. And what else did I do? Anything else? I can't think. Oh yeah, I modified the propellers so they rotate. If you watch my build update, you'll see that I put some lengths of runner bar behind the propellers to act as support stubs, so the propeller spindles were locked in position by those and not free floating, which would have meant you'd have to glue them if I didn't do that modification. So now the propellers rotate, and also on the front end and the back end I put in lights. There's a light on the front end, gunner's port just below the gunner, and same on the rear, so I've got a couple of lights that are fitted there, front and back. And I think that's about it for scratch building stuff. Oh, well, the antenna cables as well. That's an antenna post on the front of the stabilizer, vertical stabilizer. Scratch built that. Put the antenna cables in. There's 2. One goes to the top of the aerial mast behind the canopy, the cockpit, and one goes to the upper side, port side fuselage, where the radio operator's station is. And that's it. So that's what I've done. I think I've made a decent job of an old kit. I'll let you guys decide. One other thing about the guns that come with the kit are really thick. They're like 2mm diameter, which at 72 scale is 144mm, which is getting close to 6-inch diameter. And for a 303-inch Browning with a wall section around it, you know, you don't expect it to be more than 1/2 inch, 5/8 diameter. But we've got something that equates to almost 6-inch diameter, like 10 times the thickness. So they look a little ridiculous, like Lego toy guns. Hindsight, I could have scratch built those, and I should have done. One other thing, because this is the second build for the Bomber Command buddy build, we're on a time limit, so you tend to rush your builds, and I wanted to get things done, so I put the wing halves together, glued them into the fuselage halves after chopping out the bomb bay area. And then I thought, crap, I noticed there's no detail on the underside of the port side wing for landing lights. And what I would have done in hindsight is cut out a rectangle in the lower wing, so there's an aperture. On the inside of the lower wing, put in a bit of styrene card, so you effectively got a recess with the base. Then cut out a rectangular piece that fits into that rectangular aperture, put 2 holes in it, paint the back styrene silver, place that on top, and then fill in the 2 holes with some clear coat, gloss clear coat. So when it sets, it looks like glass, or you could use clear setting PVA glue. And I didn't do it. And then I also, after putting the 2 fuselage halves together, looking at photographs, I noticed the crew access just in front of the bomb bay. I would have built that as well. I would have cut out an area with side walls, put an access ladder in and a door for the crew. So I could have put a bit more detail on this in hindsight, but I was rushing it, wasn't thinking, but just wish I'd done it to give it that extra boost. But anyway, it looks okay. I think for an old kit, for a kit that's going to be 60 years old next year. But I'm going to leave that to you guys, so no more waffling. It's been almost 10 minutes now, and let's get on with the slideshow, guys. Oh, before we do, if you've got one in your stash, Don't be perturbed because it's an old kit and the new kit's come out. If you like a challenge like I do, and you want to try and make something of what you think's nothing, it's the kit for you. Give it a go. Try to make it better than it can be. Enhance it. It's a nice challenge. You know, it's too easy to make these modern day kits that fall together. I'm not knocking them, I love them. But if you want to challenge, I'm saying challenge yourself with an old kit. It's good fun. Alright, okay, the waffling is over now. Enjoy the slideshow, and I look forward to your comments. Thanks for following along. Talio, chocks away.